Spring football is coming up any minute now, and it's exciting to see the Missouri Tigers back on the field. We're joined by head coach Barry Odom, and let's talk about the offseason first. Some change in the coaching staff, and obviously, the roster turns over a little bit. Is everybody getting settled in and ready? And do you feel ready for spring football to come?
Well, you look at to answer that question. We are we've had a couple of weeks here working together as a staff through the month of January. And then all of February was productive for us in a lot of different ways. Different coordinator, different offensive line coach, AJ Afadale moving into the receiver spot. So, enough movement there on that side of the ball that really you've got to spend a lot of time together as a staff to make sure you're on the same page and then get it taught to your kids. I like the progress that we've made. We've got a chance now to go out next week and put some of it into action and then be able to coach off of the film. And then the teaching environment in the classroom with all the film work and the study and the details and the habits of what it takes to run a successful play and then a drive and then all the different things situationally that you do on that side of the ball with third downs and red zone and merging all the ideas and what we've done well over the last few games here offensively and taking that and continue to incorporate those ideas, but also throw in some different things that are going to help us and help our team moving forward to be a more complete football team. I think the move with Andy Hill being our special teams coordinator now, that's going to prove to really help our program out in a lot of different ways. He's excited about that role and some things that have been taken off of my plate, quite honestly, with him being in that role, and I think that helps our program become better.
On the offensive side of the football, with all the differences in the coaching staff that you mentioned, what's going to be the biggest change for the offense this season?
Well, you look at, there's always, as you go through a season and then in the off-season, offense, defense, or kicking, you try to find ways to make your team better, and every team, every season is different. So, the challenge to be teachers for us on taking what we've done well and try to do that better, and then also, whether it's third downs or red zone or situational football, you incorporate new ideas that maybe can help you out to become a better football team. Defensively, we're doing the same thing with the hire of Vernon Hargraves, the coach of our inside linebackers. He and Brian Odom working together with the linebacker and the nickel and or the dime, depending on the sub packages that we're in. Brick back on the defensive line helps us consistency there, and then Coach Walters taking the back end, the corners and the safeties together, and then coordinating the defense. A lot of moving parts, but our staff is in a great spot. More than anything, I'm excited about the culture of our locker room and the way that our guys are working together and really the investment that they've shown since a couple of days after our bowl game.
People are going to pay a lot of attention to Drew Lock, obviously, when he's coming off the season that he had. But how good can this running game be this year with the consistency on offensive line, bringing back that entire group, and a healthy Demarie Crockett and everything else we've seen, particularly Larry Roundtree coming back after a really good freshman year? How good can that ground attack be?
Well, I think you start with any time on talking about a run game, you've got to be able to control the line of scrimmage and up front with our offensive line. With those five guys back, plus a couple other newcomers that will push for playing time and maybe starting time, we've got a good foundational start to that process, and two tailbacks that we know that are game ready and can have positive runs in league play. All that is tied together, and then with the ability structurally to find ways to run the football, whether it's on a fly sweep or you're running the power play or have the tight end in the backfield and run the isolation play. The different ways that you can get to running the football will help us more than anything.
In the short time that you've been able to work with Derek Dooley, what have you seen, particularly from a defensive perspective, that he's been able to bring from the NFL game and his time with the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, and you talk with Derek and all the guys that I know that are coaching in that league, that that's really all that. There's not academics, there's not recruiting. They spend time they're on football, and so he's talked about the ideas and all the different ways to approach more than anything situational football on the offensive side, and ways to maybe get an advantage, steal a couple of downs with some third down conversions, and then the idea and the concepts that he has from from being a head coach before has helped me maybe more than anything. He's not afraid to express his ideas and his opinions, which was welcome, and I appreciate what he's brought to our program.
On the defensive side of the football, you bring back so much. Obviously, they're guys like Marcel Frazier and some guys in the secondary that were starters and contributors that are not back, but you return a lot. And what excites you about what you bring back and what you can do with a lot of experience on that side?
Those guys are invested in playing defense the right way, on communicating, on being assignment sound, on snap footwork, the techniques and the habits and the communication that it takes to play well. Ryan Walters has done a tremendous job on really taking the lead and coordinating that side of the ball. And those guys that are returning starters, our challenge as coaches is we've got to make sure that we put them in position to play better than they did last year. And if you do that, then we've got a chance to be in the special team.
Terry Beckner Jr. coming back, and he made that decision. When I talked to him about that right before the Texas Bowl, that seemed like a very easy decision for him. And I think that might have surprised some people who maybe in their own minds have said, well, that guy's going to go to the NFL as soon as he can. Talk to me about like the level of investment he has and how excited Terry Beckner Jr. is to come back.
Well, he's happy to be a Missouri Tiger, and he wants to leave his mark on this program. He's going to graduate from college, and he's got a chance of obviously leaving here after this year on writing his own story on how he finished up. And we talked openly from last year this time to when he made his decision on what all went into that. And he likes being a college student athlete, and he likes his teammates. He's very well respected, and he's a really good player as well. But he had the opportunity to decide to forego that last year, and that's maybe the best recruiting job we did this year is finding the ways to keep he and Drew. But also you look at it every time you brought it up in a conversation with them. The team is so important to them on coming back and leading us the way that they want their careers to end. It speaks volumes of what we have going here and also what kind of guys they are.
How much will that help in continuing to shape the culture that you want to have in your program, to have those two guys all season from spring football on exhibiting that kind of attitude?
Yeah, it's I don't know that you can put a price tag on it. It's so important because of what we have built over the last 2 years or year and a half on really getting the locker room the way you want it, and you still got work to do. We're not perfect by any stretch, but you've got two older guys in the locker room that have been in the battles. They understand they could have went anywhere in the country, but they're going to achieve their goals at Mizzou, and that means a lot, not only to our current team, but also guys that we're looking at to recruit years down the road.
So you certainly have the leadership in place as you get into spring football, and this is a time where guys get a lot of reps and a lot of opportunity to get better. Is there anybody personnel-wise that you're really looking at to say, I'd like to see this person or maybe this area step up and take
Well, I look at
advantage?
just individually. Look at Christian Holmes on the back end last year. That was a starter at the point when he got hurt right before the first game. Went out with a shoulder injury, missed all of last season. He's worked extremely hard to get back to where he is today. I think he's got a chance to help us a great deal on the back end. In the secondary, Jordan Elliott up front was ineligible because of a transfer rule last year. He's a defensive tackle for us that has a chance to really make an impact. And then Markel Utze, even though he played last year, still I don't know that he ever recovered from his ACL surgery as maybe as quickly as he wanted to, and his progress that he's made looks like a different guy so far from January until today. And then on the offensive side, I'm excited to see Trev Sims. On the way that his career and play really took over last year. I think he can continue to grow with Paul Adams. We've got a chance up front on the offensive line with those guys. Tristan Castillo inside at the center is kind of exactly how you want that position to be. Those guys competing together up front as an offensive line. I'm excited to see them back together as a group.
Couldn't have asked for much more from Albert O in his freshman season. Where can he grow and take the next step as a sophomore?
Well, understanding, and Coach Finley's done a great job on continuing to develop his skill set, and some of the routes that we're asking him and the tight ends to do at this point with where they're lining up, is finding ways to creatively get them in one-on-one matchups that helps you out offensively. and his understanding of how that plays in. He's still a young football player, doesn't seem like it, but he is. So his maturity over the last year, obviously he had a successful season, but he understands he can be a lot better.
The momentum built obviously at the end of last season, and you and your coaching staff did such a good job of continuing to motivate while you were playing games, and the winning streak grew and you got a chance to play in postseason. How do you continue that momentum, and what's the message in spring football to continue to keep it rolling?
Well, you've got an opportunity, you've got 15 opportunities, and for us to develop and take them one practice at a time and establish our goals on really what we want to get done in that practice to lead into practice 2. We understand the process. I think from a maturity standpoint of our program, we understand the process it takes to get in position to have a really good practice to improve. Don't just check the box and say, yeah, we had an okay practice 1. There'll be some competitive spirit amongst all the positions when there's competition within position battles. That's healthy for our team, that we've got real depth that we can do that, but also understand that each position you've got to really become a master of your craft of that spot and the attention to detail and the habits that it takes to improve. If you were a pretty good player last year, we need you to be a really good player this year. And defensively speaking, playing well together, having all 11 guys on the same page, over communicating, understanding when you can take your shot, being aggressive on a tackle or using the right leverage points. We've got an older team now, and those things should happen from the start.
A lot to happen between now and April 14th in the spring game. I'm sure you're excited to get going, aren't you?
We are, yep.
That's head coach Barry Odom, his team beginning spring practice. And of course, don't forget, Black and Gold spring game at Faroe Field on Saturday, April 14th. We'll have continuing reports with Barry Odom's Mizzou football team throughout spring camp.